Okay, today I'm going to show you guys how to make green tea shortbread cookies, which are one of my favorite kinds of cookies, hence why I want to show you them. So I'm going to start with a little bit about the background behind shortbread cookies and where they originated. They were originally made in Scotland and Ireland, and they evolved from a medieval biscuit that was essentially just bread that was hardened into a cookie. And Mary Queen of Scots was accredited to refining the shortbreads in the 16th century and essentially dubbed them her favorite cookie. And then the different types of shortbreads, they're extremely easy cookie with three main ingredients. They have flour, sugar, and butter. And the difference in shortbread cookies as opposed to sugar cookies is that there's no yeast in them or pretty much no rising action, so they don't get bigger. And then you roll them out and bake them. So today I'd like to demonstrate how to make a green tea shortbread cookie, which includes the ingredients that are used, the preparation of those very ingredients, and then finally the baking of those cookies. The ingredients that you're going to need to make these wonderful cookies. You're going to need one large mixing bowl, preferably ceramic, so that when you whisk it, you don't damage the bowl. You're going to want a rolling surface for when you decide to roll out your cookies and cut them, and usually a cutting board works best because it's kind of a flat surface and it's easy to clean after. You're going to want at least one pan. Usually metal is the best kind because you can line it with aluminum foil and then throw the foil away. You're going to want multiple bowls to separate the ingredients before you mix them finally. Aluminum foil for your pan. A tablespoon measuring mini cup, essentially. Whisk and rubber spatula. Cookie cutter of choice. And then for the actual food ingredients, you're going to want 2 cups of flour that's been pre-sifted, which very easy. You're going to want green tea powder, which you can find at any health food store. You can buy it online. I bought it online. You're going to want 2 sticks of unsalted butter that's been left at room temperature, and you want it unsalted because you're making cookies, and normally cookies are made as sweet things, and salt essentially just takes away from the sweetness and makes them more bitter. Some people do prefer to add salt. If you add salt, you're supposed to add sea salt that's been finely granulated. And then lastly, you're going to want confectioner's sugar. Instead of normal granulated sugar, which is what you put in like Kool-Aid or something, you want to use the powdered sugar because it absorbs easier in the cookies and it doesn't leave granules of the sugar in them. So, using the ingredients, you're going to take the 2 cups of flour that you've pre-sifted out, and you're going to put them into one of the smaller mixing bowls. Then you're going to take your green tea powder. You're going to take your tablespoon measuring cup, and you're going to measure out 2 tablespoons of green tea powder. And after you've mixed those together, what you're going to do with your whisk, you're going to want to incorporate all the green tea throughout the flour, so when you add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients, everything's going to be incorporated. Then you're going to set that to the side, and you're going to take your bigger bowl and take your butter, which room temperature, very important because you have to mix it in with the other ingredients, so they're going to kind of need to be almost liquid. So you're going to add that to your bigger bowl. To the bigger mixing bowl, you're going to take your confectioner's sugar, and you're going to want to measure out 1/2 cup of this. Exact measurements aren't necessary all the time because they're cookies. So kind of eyeball it. Make sure you have about 1/2 cup. A little more is not a bad thing. You're going to add it to your butter, and you're going to whisk it together and get it all mixed up. And sometimes it might take a little bit more to get it mixed up depending on if you're using like a hand whisk or as opposed to one of the electric mixers or one of the larger KitchenAids. Those are amazing. So get it all incorporated. And then once you pretty much have it all smooth and doesn't seem like there's any lumps of sugar in there, you're going to take your dry ingredients that you mix together with the flour and the green tea, and you're going to add them a little at a time to your wet ingredients, the butter and the sugar, and just mix them all in there. And some cookies you have to be careful about how much you mix them, but shortbread cookies, since they don't rise much and they're hard in general, you don't really need to be worried too much about how many times you mix them. Just make sure that you're mixing it well, because you want them to be smooth and bake evenly. Okay, so once you get all of your ingredients mixed in together in the bowl, it's going to be kind of a thicker cookie dough, because you're going to want to roll them out and make them into actual cookies. So you're going to take actually one of these. Your mixing pan for your dry ingredients from earlier is usable simply because it's got more flour in it. It's not going to hurt the cookies if you put it in there. So you're going to take all of the mixed cookie dough and get it into this. And you're not going to cover it with any kind of like saran wrap. You're going to kind of just push it down into the bowl. And you're going to want to refrigerate your cookie dough now that it's all mixed up together for probably about 25 to 30 minutes, so it can get cool and kind of harden up so that you can roll it out onto a surface. Okay, so now that the cookies have had time to cool in the fridge, you're going to take out the dough that you already have, and you're going to take your surface cutting board or an actual countertop itself. You're going to take a little bit of extra flour that you either have reserved from what you measured out originally, or you're going to just grab it out of the bag. Sprinkle your rolling surface out with it, so you kind of evenly coat it with your hand. And then you're going to take part of your cookie dough, sectioned out either half or in quarters, and put it onto your surface and just knead it out with your hands. You're going to take your cookie cutter, sprinkle a little bit more flour kind of in the corner of your surface, put your cookie cutter kind of in it and coat the edges of it so that it doesn't stick as much to the dough itself, and then just press it into the dough. Once you get the whole thing filled, depending on how many you're making, you could be making sheets of them. You're going to take your oven that's been preheated to 325 degrees. You're going to take your cookies, put them into the oven. Alright, so now that you've let your cookies bake for 8 to 10 minutes, you're going to need an oven mitt, obviously, to get them out. And you're going to pull them out of the oven. Make sure that the oven's actually off. Very important. Set them down. So, I hope today I demonstrated for you how to make green tea cookies, including the ingredients, the preparation of the ingredients, and the shaping and baking of those cookies.